We begin with breaking news. An arrest has been made in connection with a pair of Toronto murders carried out months apart back in 1983. And CB24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us now with more on that. You just heard from Toronto police, and you were also one of those detectives who was working on one of those cases back in the day.
Yeah, I was, Jamie, and I worked on both those cold cases back in the mid-2000s, and I'm joined right now by Erin's brother, who I got to know very well over the years, and I have to tell you, this man remained steadfast in his dedication to his sister and in his belief that one day the person that was responsible for her murder would be identified, and here we are. So I'd hug you right now, but it's probably not appropriate. Your thoughts?
It's just an incredible day, Steve. You know what I mean? You and I spoke many times over the years, and we needed, as we always said, we needed a name. Or you know what I mean? Back then, it was we needed a name, and then we found out that we needed technology, and the technology finally gave us the answers to allow the detectives here at the Cold Case Squad to keep going and pursue this guy and finally get him into custody and narrow it down and arrest him. So.
You know, every time I spoke with you, I was always struck by your poise and the dignity and class that you always demonstrate. Anytime I wanted to speak with you or anybody else, where did that come from? And secondly, we spoke a lot about your mom and how badly she wanted to know who did this to her daughter.
Right.
She's since passed. Describe all that.
Well, I think you know, Mom passed away 2 years ago, and it was always obviously a very difficult subject for her to talk about. I kind of became the de facto person for the family to talk to the press, and that was part of that was trying to keep Erin's case present, relevant, alive, you know, in terms of Toronto Police, in terms of the public, and just trying to keep it out there and have somebody maybe step forward with a piece of information that would help us get to this day. And it's a really you know, the spectrum of emotion is like, I can't even put it into words what today means. It's amazing. It's 39 years of a lot of feelings sort of wrapped up into, you know, one massive piece of news for us, our family, and all of Erin's friends.
Well, I won't keep you. There's lots of people who want to talk to you, but your strength I admire, and thank you for doing this.
I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you did over the years. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So, Jimmy, I have to tell you, this is very emotional for me as well as a reporter, because it's cases like this that you and your team work on diligently. And when you have a case where you've got two women who are not known to one another, oftentimes you solve cases because there is a connection of some sort. But when you've got two complete strangers on opposite sides of the city, two different walks of life, two different ages, both killed and sexually assaulted, but the same DNA is left, there is a fingerprint there. You just need to find whose fingerprint that is. And as you heard the detective sergeant say, if it wasn't for the modern day technology, this may never have been solved. So this may give us a good indication as crime investigators, for the crime investigators of the future, this is where we are heading. You may have heard the detective sergeant allude to the name wasn't in the box, and that's something that we all as detectives, former detectives, always say, because you start off with banker's boxes, and there's always a list of names in those banker's boxes, and you need to clear those one at a time. One at a time, you go out, you send detectives out, and you strike that name off of your list. In a case like this, we had no name. They had no name, but they had DNA. And you heard from this man here who just, every time I spoke with him, every time I tried to get new information from him, he was prepared and willing, as are many families who've lost loved ones to brutal crimes such as these. But if nothing else, this is a message to all those families that are out there that are waiting for that phone call from the police. Never give up, and I've been saying this for years, because there is always the chance, and now it appears as though those chances are getting greater and greater. And if you are somebody who's committed one of these heinous crimes, as I always said again, sleep with one eye open, because you never know when that knock's going to come on the door, and you might be the next one being hauled off in handcuffs. So it is a good day for the Toronto Police. These two women can finally rest peacefully. Their families can get closure, if there is such a thing. And now for the cold case unit, it's on to the next one. I'll send it back to you.
Some great police work, that's for sure. Thanks, Steve Ryan.